I'll call the meeting to order at 6:01. Present are Diane, Linda, BJ, myself, the trustees absent is Tourangeau, Eric for the village manager, Rosemary Audibert, clerk and treasurer, and Donna for the minutes. We'll start with approval of changes to the agenda. So Eric has suggested that we postpone the discussion about the merger until Ken can be present, because it would be good to let him have a say in this, and I agreed. So I'm going to propose that we put that off till the next meeting. Is there any other?
Can I just ask, like, would we have to go with this company that this 59,000 came from?
Probably not.
No,
That's just an estimate, is what we're
That was his
basically.
proposal.
Okay,
and is he the same one that did the last?
Yes.
He was the same one.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
I thought it was okay.
I believe it was.
So is there any other additions, deletions, changes to the agenda? Okay, the agenda stands, so we're going to next thing is to review the minutes from
January.
Are you able to see
January
on
9th.
yours?
No,
Because I'm getting
we get.
a blue thing. It says Zoom on the bottom.
Yeah, because we're there, it's showing it. I think it.
we're talking about Dan.
No, we're just trying to get Zoom to work.
Yeah.
Oh, not working at all.
No.
Well, no.
No, the same.
I've got it right here. I took the spreadsheet down because we were not doing that yet. So. That's what matters.
Who's
Yeah,
that?
agree.
Beautiful, thank you very much. There we go.
All right, getting back to
Yes.
the minutes of the January 9th meeting. Are there any changes, additions, or corrections to those minutes?
The January 9th ones?
Correct.
They look good to me.
All right, as soon as everyone has read them, we need a motion.
You move we accept the minutes of January 9th.
For a second,
Second,
any more discussion? Vote. All those in favor of accepting the January 9th minutes as read?
Aye.
Written. Aye.
I,
It's unanimous. So the next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report.
Okay, I passed out the latest budget status report for last year. I think they're pretty well complete, except for the water and sewer department do not have the depreciation booked up yet. They don't have what kind of depreciation booked up. Electric turned out slightly better than I thought it was going to.
oh, good.
Because we estimated a deficit of, what did you say?
Like 113.
13, and we were at, I think, 98.
Recording in progress.
Now I can see.
Oh, that's why you were in the waiting room.
So we still have, it's better than we thought, but we
Is it
still
waiting
have
off?
a big
Well, waiting room is on.
gap to cover. And I guess we'll be discussing that tonight.
And I passed out a draft warning for the village annual meeting,
Mhm.
which is on April 4th. And voters have until the 16th to put any petitions in, if they want a money petition or some kind of petition
Mhm.
for the annual meeting.
Okay.
So do what, March?
To have anything put on, you mean?
Yeah, they have until the 16th,
And how many signatures do they need for that?
5% of 700,
5%, 700.
which is on Thursday. I haven't heard of anything going around town.
Which is 35 roughly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
So it's still on
February
February 16th.
16th.
Yeah, and the village meeting is on April 4th.
Yeah.
These are the articles that I knew about. I don't know if there's anything else the board wants to vote on.
Mhm.
And this is going back to the old village in-person meeting.
Mhm.
If this board chooses to do that. Who's the moderator for that? The Eric, he's the president. That's basically what the president does, it moderates the village meeting.
And we plan to hold it here, not over at the school, right?
Yes. Oh, it'll be here? Yes. I don't think we'll have more than 49 people.
49 is our,
There's our limit up here.
for here,
Of course, there's.
including all, of
Mhm.
right.
Of course, there's.
I remember being at a meeting here. What was that meeting? And we were borderline. What was that?
There's been a few.
for? Yeah.
And this Australian ballot for the officers from 9 to 7.
And when's the deadline for petitions to run?
The 27th.
Just in case I decide I want to run.
You want to be auditor too?
No. I have enough problems. Thank you very much.
What's that date again?
The 27th.
Of February.
Yes.
5, 4,
5.
5.
Something else I wanted to ask you. I can't remember. Well, it looks like it'll be a short and sweet meeting.
Typically they last about an hour.
A lot different than town meetings.
Ooh,
Mhm.
I think Article 8 pretty much covers our butts to add anything on if we want to until the deadline. Thank you for that, Rosemary.
Yep. The last days to post it is March 5th. So at your next meeting in 2 weeks, you should vote to approve.
Okay.
I think that's all that I had.
So other than the electric department shortfall, are there any other items on the budget that are super good news or super bad news or noteworthy?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you, Rosemary.
You're welcome.
All right, so now we have this discussion about whether or not we need to read every report out loud at a meeting, which how we have been doing it, or we can go to a system that's been proposed where any member of the public or member of the board can request a certain part of it to be read. I don't know how much time this would save us, but it sounds like it could relieve some of the boredom from a meeting and keep people paying attention better. I don't
As
know.
I see people glassy eyed when I'm sitting there, we did, we changed the bearing on this pump, we did,
Well,
Yeah.
yours is more interesting than.
well, I was not mine,
In the fire department.
mine would continue.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
so let me ask, how would us or the public know to ask questions if we don't have it?
Well, if they
it'll
go
be in
to-
the minutes.
It's
After the fact?
No, it'll be in the packet,
It'll be in
and the
the,
packet gets put on the website, which was on the website, a couple days ago. Well, Thursday or Friday. So
I think it only takes, I mean, literally, we spend 10
that's
minutes.
true.
It's so short.
That's the idea.
If you,
I've seen people all glassy eyed like, when you stop.
You know, you're right, there is some boring stuff, but I mean, it's 10 minutes and you get the. I do better with hearing things than reading them, and that way I can just ask a question
Yep.
at that point.
Yep.
I prefer to listen to it. If it was something drawn out, like a half hour each time, I mean, that'd be different, but they seem pretty short.
Okay.
So,
some people are better readers than others,
Yep.
and Eric's a pretty good speed reader, so I think he
Yeah.
can get through it pretty efficiently. I have been here when there was a couple people that it was kind of painful to listen to them because they weren't smooth
agree.
readers.
No, I agree.
Anybody else have a opinion one way or the other?
I don't care.
I mean, since BJ wants to do it, I mean, I could do without having them read for sure.
Same here,
That would
but I
be
don't
just
care.
fine.
It's not, I don't
It's
care.
not
So
for me to argue over.
then we'll just leave it as it
Yes, it is.
stands for now,
I said,
until we get some really long.
but I noticed some people like, oh, God, we need the next one. I can see it in their face. So I was like, oh, yes, it's worth looking at.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I don't think it's anything we need to
No,
take
just-
an action on.
Just next.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is members of the public.
Well, we have people in the chat room if they want to speak up.
Is there anyone from the public that wants to bring up anything at our meeting tonight?
No one's mic is, no one's coming off the mute, so I'm saying that's a no.
Who's on there? I tried to log on so I can see.
You got Lydia and Andrew Moskowitz.
And is Andy the person was it
Andy
you who
is-
suggested that he might be interested
Yeah,
in running for a he's a
position.
new resident?
so he lives near you.
Oh, does it? Okay.
He lives
In the
in
brick
Rhoda
house.
Mingledorf's.
The one we were talking about the other day?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
house.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for coming, Andy, and
Hey there. I'm a little sick, so I'm gonna mostly lay back and observe, but nice to see you all.
yeah, and look forward to meeting you in person
Welcome.
one of these days. I walk past your house most every day with my dog, my wife.
Oh, nice. We'll say hi.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the village manager's report and any action items.
This one's longer than most, and
We're gonna start snoring.
for the most part, pretty awesome. Nate Brigham has begun training sessions in preparation for the spring water operators exam. He's completed 2 of the 8 classes that end in early April and seems to be doing very well.
Can you just tell me what's he going to be able to do with these classes after he's done?
So he'll be certified as Vermont drinking water distribution operator. So to work on the water system, someone should have a license. Right now, they're working under Dan's license as the treatment plant operator, which is legal, but having someone on site that knows the right way to do it is very beneficial.
That's great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Our Vermont DEC sanitary survey, which is basically water system inspection, last fall revealed their intent to eliminate the well by the Percy pit from the system would make village growth difficult due to the current permitted gallon per minute of water treatment facility filtration system. So without the Percy well, what we're allowed to put through our filter is not much more than we have on the books. So
I don't quite understand that, I guess.
it's
It's.
you have so much allocation
Mhm.
for water with your source in your system. Because of the original design specs of our filtration system, we can only do, I forget the number, Dan can actually pipe in probably, X gallons a minute through the filter, which gives you, enough water for this many residents and businesses. Which we're at about 80, with getting rid of the Percy well, we're at about 80% of that. Which is where you start having to plan and, work with the state on finding a new source. And you get close to getting to connection moratoriums, so your growth goes nowhere.
Even though the Percy well is just a backup emergency.
It counts for gallonage.
Okay.
They said, even though we're not using it, because it's there, it counts for gallonage.
So we should be looking for another water source.
Let me finish.
Oh,
So working with DEC personnel, I arranged for a state of Vermont facilitated pilot study of the abilities of our filtration equipment to be effective at higher pressures, which equals more flow than they are currently permitted at. That study began this past Monday with DEC scientists working with Dan's staff. And the initial results suggest that we will be able to expand our permitted flow numbers from that well to allow for significant growth. More to follow as we finish the study.
Is that costing us?
Just the price of the extra manganese samples, minimal. The state is helping us for free.
So will we know what, after the study is done, what that significant growth will be?
Right, they'll take the results and give us rework the permit and give us new flow numbers. And that'll be.
so they'll say you
that'll
have enough for X amount of.
right,
They'll say how we have enough for this many new,
Mhm.
okay,
Well, they won't say it like that, but it'll be up to us to do help with the math on that. They'll say how many, they'll tell us, here's your gallons per day that you can do. And you have to figure out with what you have actually being used and what you have promised, where you're at compared to that.
because Lamoille County is one of the highest growing counties. So we
Right.
should probably be ready,
So,
right? Look,
right.
I mean, Morrisville is,
Basically, we have to, if this doesn't work, we have to start looking for a place to drill a hole.
okay,
Yeah.
Because the Percy well is a done deal. We can't
Well,
take that back. can we?
We haven't turned it off as of, you haven't
right,
gotten it off our books as of yet, waiting on this.
right.
But I'm not sure. It would be very messy to do so.
Mhm.
Right. George Swanson of the Lairway School asked permission to tap about a dozen maple trees for a class project on the corner of our water treatment facility property adjacent to the Highland Heights property, which they also tap. The students will always be supervised when they're on the property, and I grant that permission. Steve and I led Jim Severett from Efficiency Vermont around the food shelf building for possibly doing a $7,500 fully funded energy efficiency project for the nonprofit. It looks very promising to do a refrigeration upgrade there. Jim also toured village facilities and determined that the wastewater treatment facility lighting was the best place to use the $25,000 project that's set aside for the municipality. Here's the only, part of this report. The shared cold storage building has experienced multiple issues of late. Raccoons have taken up residence by chewing their way in and are living in the ceiling. Well, one less of them is now living. There's a resident nuisance trapper who's also a rec coordinator. Got one. According to Dean locked to trap them. It's likely that the drafts from the raccoon entryway contributed to the water line freezing and bursting, causing significant water damage. Nate rented a large dehumidifier, which helped with the visible side of the wall. I filed a claim with Passive and hired CertPro at their recommendation. Passive will be sending an adjuster this Wednesday, and the cost for the repair will be shared 50-50 with the town, whom I've kept in the loop.
Do you know how much estimated? Probably not.
No, I don't know yet. I should know no later than tomorrow, somewhat of an estimate, because CertPro was supposed to give me an estimate.
Okay. Thank you.
I expected it today, but I must be wrong. That event prompted me to inquire about our actual need for heat and water in that unoccupied storage building. Immediate findings indicate that only a few rec department supplies need to stay above freezing, and there's no need for water. To address the rec concern, I offered Dean and Brian to give the water light foreman office to the town rec department. This seemed well received at their level. This accounts for substantial savings. The last 12 months of fuel bills for that building come to $13,967.49.
And we're not heating it for any purpose.
Well, Jason did say that their backhoe has a hard time starting as it is, but there is electricity going. You could plug in the block heater.
Well, we have nothing down there that we need heated, right?
Where is that?
Yeah.
Yes, that I was going there. It's like, I'm trying to get the town to want to not heat it too, but if not, we may have to say,
Accurate.
we don't need heat, accurate.
Because you're right, with a block heater, that would kind of solve the problem with that one rig, if that's the only thing that needs heat.
That's a lot of money.
Oh,
There's a lot of work.
Incredible amount. That's.
Right.
It's because all of it was going out the raccoon holes.
Well, no, before the
Some
raccoon,
persons.
this was,
Even,
this was just heating that whole building, which I don't know how well it's insulated. It does have an efficient heat system. It's got radiant heat in the floor.
Yeah, it's poorly
Which is-
insulated. But so if we turned off the heater, filled the system with glycol, so the pipes didn't burst and break the concrete, and turned off the water, turned off the breaker to the sewage pump station, we'd save a bunch of
Shitload.
so the crew doesn't work in that building at all?
very little.
Because I
And
thought
and
they
if
did.
if they had to, make a space in one of the other buildings and go work.
Yeah.
So the village's garages, they're in the winter, they're able to work in that
Since I put
building?
that
They have that filter. in.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it worked in there now.
okay.
With this, if they decided to keep heat, would this cost per month, wouldn't it be cheaper just to insulate that building? Instead of paying this much fuel each month?
I mean, you still pay some, but.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot, it's a very high ceiling, so,
Mhm.
you could probably cut it, by 40%.
Right. But the best way is just to get out of it with the fuel, since we don't have nothing in there that needs
And
fuel.
you don't,
It's called storage.
yeah,
Right.
exactly,
That's why, yeah.
Right.
exactly,
That's like, why do you do this?
yeah,
So.
Yeah.
So on the, like I said, I offered the foreman office to rec, and on a loosely related note, the water and light office accounts for only 11.7% of the total floor space in the mill house. Which, makes us wonder why we're paying 50%, but hopefully, between the rec department taking over the office and consideration of our $7,500 investment of village water and light tailored community energy efficiency upgrades for the food shelf, the town will be amenable to assuming full ownership of mill house. I've entered us into a capstone project with a Vermont Technical College engineering senior class to do professional level energy audits of the water light, audit of the water light garage. I also loop the town in, and the class will be auditing the town garage as well. This will cost us only a bit of staff time. I also included Rob Moore and wow. Got the lockout. Oh. Let's just whoops. That's come on.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm trying to have just that one so we have
They're
a
so
little
bright.
darkness in front of the screen. There. All right. So this only costs a bit of staff time. I also included Rob Moore and Tori Hellwig of the Lamar Valley Planning Commission who will assist, and they think this may prove very useful in our pursuit of grant funding for the water and light garage rehab.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really
Very
good.
good.
And what a good experience for them.
Right,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Just wonderful. Yeah.
I wrote a letter to Lion, canceling our order and requesting our deposit. I wrote it straight to the VP of Sales. The VP of US Sales responded the following day, very apologetic, and wrote that she has sent the $10,000 refund order to their accounts payable department, and when she gets the dates and details, she'll let me know. Both my letter and her return email are
Great.
in the packet here.
Good job.
And last but not least, this one I've been working on this one. It was like my pet thing when I first got here. I've kept it in my hat, but project I researched before my first day in the job and started pursuing on day one has come to fruition. 2018, the Village Water Department entered a forgivable loan agreement with the Vermont Drinking Water State Revolving Fund to develop a water system asset management plan. The loan was for $32,600, and if all the deliverables were met within 5 years, do the math, it would be 100% forgiven. The work was done by an engineering firm to build the program and has existed since January of 2020. However, the due diligence to get it cleaned up and approved by DEC was not accomplished by the previous administration. I contacted Vermont DEC wastewater and drinking water sections before I started here to see if we had any outstanding issues and was informed of this. I emailed the state regulator and the engineer my first day to find out what was missing and how to rectify it. Well, it is now complete and approved as of this past Friday, and we're now forgiven of the loan, which is going to be payable starting this year. And maintenance and updating of the asset management plan and GIS system is part of Dan's job description.
Good
Thank
job.
you, Eric.
Good job.
We'll keep you around for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start timing right now. Yay, well, that's a biggie.
Yeah.
So far, we've come up with 32,000 and 14,000 in extra money,
And I do have one
Possibly.
question.
Possibly.
possibly.
Would we want to give up the mill house without getting something in return? I know there's fees and everything, but when you give something up, that's just something that you have less of, you know what I mean? Whether they buy it from us, whether they something I just don't feel would it benefit us by giving up a piece of property.
I'm not sure it's.
Well, think of the money.
I'm not sure it's a positive asset.
Yeah,
Yeah, what it costs, we have the number, I don't have it, but it was the propane costs, which we,
I think they were 8,000 or 9,000.
Yeah.
For that building.
But that's what I'm saying, you know, I would be up for like selling it at a discounted price or something, just not giving it up. Like giving it up is,
it's not all ours
that's
anyway,
lost.
right?
But this way, they're not really wanting to let us out of it without us paying. That's kind of
Absolutely.
where it stands.
They're,
it's a, It's a lose-lose then,
Yeah,
basically.
because it's there, it's gonna cost them more. We're not involved in it.
Right.
Yes. And it,
And we'd be giving up an asset. if we
And
got
you
rid of it.
know, there's tons of maintenance to be done on that.
Yeah, that's one of the things about it. It's a maintenance liability. Big time.
I know, I think the history is that when we were doing the memorandum of understanding, they wanted it for themselves. And then when we came to sign the memorandum of understanding, they put us back on because they didn't want to own it by themselves.
Mhm.
That's the history of that whole.
But 50% for 11.7% seems like silly math.
Yeah, it's a bad deal for us, I think, for that space, that office space that we don't really need anymore.
Yeah. And we don't use it for anything. You know,
Hello,
hey,
you coming for the village meeting?
Yes.
There's something.
Welcome.
Yes.
Oh, they did give out, the papers for running too.
Oh, thank you.
Rosemary did, so.
this is Gigi.
Gigi, yeah, oh, yeah.
Hi,
sorry,
Gigi. I hear
I
about
didn't
you.
recognize you.
Yeah.
I hear about you, but I didn't,
Yeah.
and I hear about you from him.
It's Lydia's mom.
So 2/3 of the public involvement are from the Putvain family.
Yeah. So she's running against BJ.
No.
I saw that petition.
No, she's running.
What you
against-
don't know.
She's running against Daryl.
So now I guess since he's here, we'll change which voice you have to listen to. Since it's the water wastewater report
Here you
and
go,
Dan's here.
Perfect.
Glad you're back.
Thank you. It's feeling good to get back into the groove of things. So it's feels good. So
Your mic sounds horrible, Dan.
Yeah.
does it
Yeah.
any better? I'll get a little closer. Is that any better?
No,
No. So I'll try to be.
I think it might be your connection.
We'll get back to you, Eric.
It might be back to me.
Yeah, we might have to ask Eric to read your thing tonight, Dan.
All right.
Do you have anything else that you want to add in or?
The only thing at the bottom is the water loss was 23%. We got the sales today. So figure that.
Okay. So something's not tight.
Mhm.
All right. Well, go for it then.
All right, thank you. It was 16% last month. So we get,
It's been going up. When I first came on, it was really low, like 10, 11, 12. And now it's been going up.
midwinter, you tend to find little leaks. They tend to happen.
That it's difficult to fix.
Well, you gotta find them first.
Yeah.
And we always have melty stuff right now. It's harder to find. All right. Operational status, the wastewater plant and callouts. The EDMR and WR 43 were submitted to the state. The sludge grinder for the press is failing. $4,900 plus shipping for anyone.
94.
94.
Yep. The what's that?
94,
9400.
not 49.
Oh, sorry, what dyslexic.
Yeah.
9,400 plus shipping for a new one. He talked with me and we ordered one. That's will be 10 to 12 weeks for delivery, and you really can't do without it.
And it's not something that can be rebuilt like some of the press.
There are things on there that are maintainable, but
Oh,
if this one was beyond that.
oh.
Yeah. The process water boost pump is not pumping properly, torn apart, and the impeller wear rings and sleeve were worn. Rebuild kit is 4,300.
You're spending all the money we just spent.
Hold on, Dan's found a new replacement pump with a different manufacturer for about 2,100.
Go Dan.
Yeah. He'll update when he gets a written quote, and they repaired a leak in the alum line by the pump. Met with me to go over budgets for both water and wastewater. So it's his fault, not mine.
Mhm.
There you go. The main breaker on the emergency generator failed. Brook Fuel Service was able to bypass it. They're getting a quote for a new breaker. Jim Severett, Fresh Heat Vermont, visited the plant to see if there are any projects that they could help fund. The only project that fits with their incentives is to replace some fluorescent lights with LED throughout the plant. At the same time, we can put in motion sensors in each room to minimize the time of some lights. We will contact an electrician and Needham Electric to get quotes on replacing lights and forward it to Efficiency Vermont to see what they will cover. Well, up to $25,000, Dan, they will cover it all.
Well,
There's a lot of those lights and they're expensive, correct?
Operational status of the water plant and callouts. Coliform samples were negative, and that's positive. We rotated operation of booster pumps at Katie Wynn. Met with Heather Collins, Allison Murphy, and Ray Solomon at the water plant, performed a pilot study on manganese removal. You know, this is a reread of what I wrote.
mhm.
As designed, the water plant doesn't have enough capacity for any growth with treatment through one filter. If we no longer have the native wells backup. Therefore, if we can prove that we can run 225 gallons a minute through one filter and still have adequate manganese removal, it will rewrite our permit to operate at that flow, and it will allow us to discontinue from the native well. We will be performing this pilot testing all week. Preliminary in-house testing is showing positive results. Water loss was 23%.
Can I just ask a question to go back to the Efficiency Vermont? Did Jen say that there were other energy saving projects that we should look at for future planning?
Oh, there always are. We can have her come in and do, you know, well, a look, but I mean, this building, it's like, it seems that half the lights have been replaced to LED and half the bulbs haven't. It might be worth, you know, seeing if the town wants to go in halves and do that, because there are incentives right now.
Right.
My understanding was she was only advising us on savings for electricity.
Right, this,
Because there's other things.
that was only for, in the case of the food shelf project, because that money is being channeled through the nonprofit. That's not a municipal project. We can only have one municipal project in the Stanley community thing. That's a nonprofit project. So because they're not paying rent,
Right.
then we can't do building improvements for that money. We have to do something that is theirs. So that's why we look for the refrigeration. If they're paying rent, then we could have done, you know, insulation upgrades or whatever.
Maybe they should pay $1.
I was about to say
I
that.
said, I mentioned that and she kind of grinned at me like, you know, remember that? It's like, well, how about $1 a month? And she didn't reply.
Well, no, because she's not going to give you the go ahead on that.
Right.
But,
Okay.
you know,
It is, right?
it's legally, it's
We
okay.
can look into that. That's how,
It's a good question.
Hey,
Yeah.
Ask her.
we used land from a lawyer and he makes us sign a contract every year to put a garden on this little piece of land, and we give him $1. I
Yep.
give it to him and he gives it back to me.
So my community contact for EVT is Brad, I forget his last name, but I will reach out to him and see if we can, he'd be more the wheeler dealer on that stuff. Jen's the tech person.
It'd be nice to insulate that place and get it fixed up.
Yep,
It's on the
Totally.
select boards. I don't know if you read the select board's minutes, but it's on their plate. They're looking at it.
Really?
We'll just stuff about the building in general.
right,
Okay.
yep.
All right.
Shall we go to the water and light report?
You betcha. Oh,
The village water and light report prepared, actually, should say prepared by Nate Brigham and Andy Crockett. So,
yeah, this is a milestone. This is the first report that,
yeah, I put Andy Crockett, I guess I didn't save after that, but, oh well. Electric department, Hyde Park mutual aid for 8 hours this month. Now, our mutual aid at Hyde Park now is being billed because they have no
They're still
capacity to, you know, turn the favor. So they're being billed for, at least the cost of,
Mhm.
with benefits and everything of our equipment and our people. Had David Young look at the breaker at the sub. We believe the recoser relay is bad and Ann is looking for parts. Did electric inventory for the end of the year. TSI came and did the oil sampling of the sub. Fixed various street lights around the village. Received most of, well, hit a big electrical order, but received most of it. Some still on back order. Completed monthly meter reading, high low checks, substation checks, and dig saves. The estimating and logistics department. I've been working with Nate to deal with the breaker controlled substation, been made contact with sales representative of Schweitzer Electric Engineering. To get a quote on new control, we'll be meeting next week to finalize the specifications of the new control. We may want to schedule replacing the remaining controls over time. I'm working with some returns to remount electrical supply. In addition, we need to add a cross brace to 2 fiberglass arcs to make them functional for our use. Reviewed a number of documents to refresh my memory on various Vermont rules and regulations. This includes various applicable net metering tariffs and the department's new service booklet. I reviewed the present Johnson Water Light Department IRP to familiarize myself with various aspects of operations. It seems like we should be working on a new one soon.
What's IRP stand for?
Should
Integrated.
resource, integrated resource.
Plan.
It is planned, yes.
Is that what the smart
Integrated
meter
resource
plan?
plan. So it's just a big intricate electrical report done through VIPSA. It's on our page, VIPSA website. So you can go to vipsa.org or .com and go to the Johnson website page. There's a couple of different long documents that you can use for insomnia here.
And would you call Ann's job description estimating and what?
Logistics specialist.
Oh, yeah.
Reviewing the latest 2023 version of National Electric Safety Code for revisions that we may need to incorporate. Nothing has jumped out to me that needs addressing as of now. Generally reviewing the lines and equipment as I drive around. Only one item should be investigated further: a capacitor bank on Clay Hill. It may be old enough to contain PCBs. We should investigate this with the line crew. I did a quick review of the work necessary to relocate Clay Hill line to the road. I also did a review of the 3-phase line on Route 100C to see what would be required to replace the deteriorating spacer cable. Both of these projects look feasible. It would take some serious crew time to accomplish.
I definitely appreciate how proactive she's being.
Yeah,
Mhm.
this sounds encouraging to me.
Yes,
Absolutely.
And
She's fit in, number one, and really doing a lot of
Good
stuff
job.
yep.
that,
And then last Thursday I added mortar plate, and she's going to start working with Marla to learn the solar net metering stuff to take that off of Marla's plate.
and I understood, I think from you, that the Clay Hill new line project can be postponed for a while.
For a little bit,
Because-
because that'd be done. It's old, but yeah. We should, I think, we need to postpone it until we start getting the proper amount of money coming in.
Right, that's.
Yeah.
And this other big item, big ticket item, the breaker control. I think it was. Is that something that we have like budgeted, or that it won't break the budget? I don't know. Do you have any idea?
It's to be determined.
Okay.
Right now,
It's
we're
still-
trying to do it, most of the parts there are no longer being stocked. So we're hunting for, stuff that's hard to find to just, instead of having to, redo the sub to bring it up to, the 21st century. We're trying to find the parts that'll fit it to keep it going as is for now,
I get it.
until we somehow run out of some money. But
Right.
so we're trying like heck to keep it like in the $6,000 range.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Been- Okay. Water and sewer department did the inventory for the end of the year. Fired 157 100C, checked hydrants after Johnson fire was done, which by the way, I love the communication coming from the chief. He, you know, kept us in the loop right off the bat, so we could, you know, take care of that, because oftentimes fire flow will also induce water leaks, so knowing what's going on is great. Repaired frozen water meter in line with the cold storage building with the town crew. Repaired frozen water meter at 369 Railroad Street, and Nate started class for water distribution. General department completed sidewalk maintenance as needed, removed Christmas lights. Safety, they actually went to the safety meeting with NEPA's on the 8th. We hosted 3 towns, had it right here, so that should help, you know, defray the cost a bit. They were doing that before COVID, and it all went away, and so you
Good about it.
yeah, so
I saw it was Stowe, I think, and
Stowe, Hyde Park,
and us.
yeah.
Oh, and one thing I will say is the guys' pay stubs and everything, Eric has done a great job on that. They look good, like there has been no issues at all with any of them.
Good.
So everything's looking perfect.
Except for Jeff's was a month ahead.
So the mistake I do, but no, overall, they've been really, really impressive, like no issues at all, so.
The Johnson Fire Department. Johnson Fire Department responded to 3 calls. 2 calls in the daytime and 1 at night. Average duration was 175 minutes. Nature, there were 1 automatic alarm, 1 smoke condition, and 1 structure fire. The average number of firefighters that responded was 14. The total service hours was 84. Others, the onboard battery maintainer failed in engine 1 has been replaced by the source emergency, the old E1. And we experienced alternator failure on engine 2 during the January 18th structure fire, and it has been replaced by Potter's repair.
Is this all covered within their budget?
They must have-
Must be, or RJ would say
He's got
so.
maintenance funds.
Yeah, he's pretty good about that.
So we can skip a bunch of this because we tabled this section.
Yep.
And then it just goes to budget. We move it. Yeah.
I have one question to ask Rosemary on this village warning. Do we still have time to add things on this?
Yes.
Perfect.
You're
How
going to
long,
approve it.
how long do we have to add things up till? Is there a date, like we can't go over a certain date?
It's right here,
Just that people can't,
Article 8. So we can, yeah,
Just because I know like before I approve this, I want to go over the merger thing in case we have to put any other merger stuff on here to let residents know about increase or something.
So
That's
we'll
why
be
I asked.
approving this at the February 27th meeting.
the town has not put anything on the town warning for merger
Information.
and it's already, it's gone to printer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Town, so
And
if they haven't done it now, it's too late.
that's right. And we don't really want to get into the discussion with that. When we don't even know what there is.
No, I agree, but when we have this merger, there's something here dealing with merger. I don't know what the conversation is gonna be like, and if something does end up being in there about some kind of increase, I wanna make sure that it's open for us to put it in here if we need to. Not saying there is gonna be, but without knowing and not having this conversation tonight, I just wanna make sure by that some fluke chance that we need to know something because we need to up our pay rate or something to cover something. I just wanted to make sure that's it. Okay.
Well, if the town's not on there, I don't see the sense of us.
Right, and it will come up at a village meeting. If somebody has a question, they're gonna say, what's happening with the merger? And we can go,
Whoa, oh, what it was this, $40,000.
Total
Oh,
of 50
Yeah.
million.
you mean
If
the
you-
economic development person?
No, the $40,000 for the study,
59,000.
59,000 for the study.
59.
Now for us,
59 plus other stuff that may show up.
yeah, so my thing is with that, if we start discussing that and we're like, okay, we want to go into it, we should have that on here for the residents to vote, yes, we want to continue with that. We know the increase is going to be this and this and this. That's the reason I wanted to make sure we had it open for that conversation.
It would be a question that could be brought up at
That's
the
right.
meeting.
I think it's premature for us to put it on the warning at this
Right,
point.
I mean, we don't,
Well, if we're not going to go in with them, then you're right. But if we are thinking about going in with them, we need to let them vote on that.
Yeah, but not at the village meeting, because we don't have enough information.
Right.
That's not very far away for us to have our ducks in a row. And there'll be special meetings, just like,
there's 1, 2 weeks from now.
But the village meeting will be an opportunity for
Right.
someone to
To ask a question.
ask a
That's right,
question.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And they should,
that's right.
they should.
Yeah, they should, exactly. You're in charge of them.
Are you done, Eric? With
Yeah, I think we're into the.
With your report?
We're into number 2 here.
Oh, yeah, we're on number 2.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to discuss and possibly act on the use of the cold spring. At the last meeting, it was requested that we table that discussion until this meeting. Unfortunately, Ken isn't here, who was the person who had requested that. I think that we should just go ahead and we've discussed it a lot. We could possibly, if there's any more discussion, I'm fine with that, but we could just take a vote now and see if a majority of us want to keep it open, and then that would kind of end this, in my opinion.
But I think the person that requested the time to be able to do his research, if he's not here, it ain't gonna hurt us to prolong it 2 more weeks until he gets back and he can be a part of it, since he was the one who wanted it pushed back a little bit so he could do his research.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
it's
if he
gonna
got
stay
research-
open in the meantime, so who cares?
The research,
Yeah.
the only thing he had told me, but I'm fine with postponing it again. He had told me that he wanted to have Nate come in to talk to us about it, and I think he felt like Nate would convince us. When I spoke to Nate about it, Nate's reply was, "I'll just do whatever you guys want." So,
I don't know what was in Kenny's head, so I
Yeah,
can't
okay.
say.
all right, so we can put it off till
Until the 27th.
the next meeting.
Mhm.
I did discuss with Eric today, real brief, and if we're gonna close it, it's a moot point, but making a better sign to put down there that says that it's untreated water and you're using it at your own risk. And I don't know, whatever Eric thinks is appropriate wording for the sign, just a better sign.
Yeah, let's figure out some way to.
That protects us.
Yeah, and you know what? People that have lived here know that it's untreated and they've been using it forever and ever and ever.
Uh-huh.
But people that are driving through town and see, oh, a cold spring, I wonder what that is, and pull over, they're gonna see that sign and go, oh my God, we better get out of here. This isn't treated water. God only knows what we're gonna get.
Uh-huh.
It should say somewhere on that sign, it's been used for many, many years
Uh-huh.
with no repercussions.
Yeah, but all it takes is 1 day, 1 hour to have a repercussion and somebody to act to it. I think we'd better be safe than sorry. If somebody's gonna run because they see a sign that it's untreated, that's their right to know it's untreated and not assume it's treated because we
I
have a
don't
sign
know
there.
yeah, I don't know if the word untreated is the right word to put there, because then someone's.
What
gonna
does
say,
it
"Why didn't you
state
treat it?"
now?
What does it
What
say
does
now?
the signs say now?
Anybody, do you know, Donna?
What the sign says?
Yeah,
I never go down there.
I mean,
I was thinking of looking at it to see, and I forgot to.
It might be untested, maybe.
Some
Something
thought
like
said unpotable water.
Unpotable. I
Is
think
that
you,
what it says?
I think that's what it says.
If
I
it
think
says,
there's a
if it
small-
says non-potable, that covers us.
That's
Then
right.
they don't need to even make a new.
If it already says
Yeah.
non-potable, then that means don't drink it.
Yeah.
I'll take a walk down there tomorrow and check it out.
And
I
check
think
out
it's a
like the
very small
location of it
sign,
and stuff
so-
like that, make
yeah.
sure it's visible.
All right, so now we're on item number 3, which is the big one for tonight.
Woo-hoo.
Right, it's 5 and 7. How much time you gonna need? We're gonna eat into it.
And Eric is prepared. Lots of big papers with lots of numbers.
Knife numbers.
All right, I'll start with water. So we haven't had a water increase since 2015-16. And it was 2008 before that, so we're kind of consistent in our 78-year plan. And look at increases, and the previous increase was in the teens for sure. So, you know,
Percentage wise.
yeah,
And the team.
yeah, and this one, well, going forward, I propose we do it more often, with little increases.
Uh-huh.
So I probably should start with wastewater first, but yeah, I'll go to the punchline first. I've been able to get it so both of them were at a 9.8% increase. With water, I do some smithing to get water under 10%, but water will likely require another 3.6% next year in order to gain in the net. We don't need to see 2018. So on revenues, that water fills is the projected plus the 9.8% in fees. Water application fees, as you can see, last year we actually did quite a bit of sales. I don't like to, that's not something I can count on. So,
When you say sales, does that mean new homes?
right, so any new water services, so the application fee has the allocation charges and hookup charges and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So,
What is a merchandising sale? 7.
that I don't know, but we haven't had any. They budgeted it.
Yeah, I see that. 22,
Yeah.
we had 500 budgeted, but I just didn't know.
Yeah, I'm not selling t-shirts, I know
That's
that.
that's where they plug money in
Yeah.
for a rainy day fund.
So there's some antiquated, Rosemary and I talked about today, there's some antiquated line items that we need to polish out of here. You'll see a lot more at the bottom, that just aren't applicable anymore. So capacity charges and allocation fees. Application fees were way up last year. I didn't account for that in my budget to be proven. Capital Reserve Fund, I'm proposing we use $35,000 of capital reserve to fund the rehab of the Katie Wynn meter house, the one that was going to cost $180,000 through the engineering firm that Dan and company are going to do in-house.
How much is in our capital reserve?
In water capital reserves is 36,800, I believe.
So that would pretty much use
But
it up.
we've got an answer to that further down.
Okay,
Yep. Okay, so, whoops, wow, hold on. Let me do with the cursor. Okay. So there we go. And then one shot deal, I'm proposing a $20,000 loan from our community development fund, the local one, to basically help with that. Well, basically make it so I can have the 9.8% increase instead of a 13% increase.
And we can take out loan from ourselves.
Yes,
What will the interest rate on that be?
nothing.
Yes, dirt cheap, if anything.
It's no. Yeah,
And aren't we gonna probably need to borrow other money to meet the shortfalls of the electric budget as well?
we have 266 in the community development fund. 266,000.
That's the revolving loan,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Okay,
Right, so proposing 20,000 here. It says for 5 years, but I'm actually paying the first installment in this budget, so it's really for
Okay.
4 years.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's, I really wanted to keep our increases below 10%. So using that loan was it made it so we can stay 9.8% here, and then the 3.6% increase next year is what makes it that, so we can pay that loan back.
Mhm.
And that's only on the water side. The wastewater doesn't, I don't foresee that increase.
Mhm.
It's in better shape than water. So total operating revenue of 311,270. And expenses. O&M, plant O&M maintenance, the first line item 0. You'll see the actuals, little teeny actuals previously, just stuff that got miscoded. The wrong line item. That is a line item from back when we had plant operations staff
Uh-huh.
on staff. Now it's contracted services through
Mhm.
Dan's outfit.
How
That's
long-
our biggest expense, right?
Yes.
how long is Dan's contract for? Does he have it? for
5
four-
years, I
four-
think.
Yeah, it was 5.
Yeah.
But is,
I think we're in our second year.
Yeah.
okay,
And yeah, I looked it over, and for what they provide, what they charge. We couldn't do it.
Mhm.
With our own staff. We couldn't hire staff to replace that and do it for the money that they're charging us. And I was,
And there must be other municipalities that have made that same decision, like Morrisville,
right,
because they're using them too.
well, I mean, that's part of why they're gonna do it.
Right.
Because, you
You're
know,
splitting it.
we're splitting the chief,
Uh-huh.
you know. Yep, that's how they're able to be fairly.
oh, Dan does more still
He's
also.
chief of both.
He does 50%.
Yeah.
The other two guys are 100% here, right?
Yeah, that's how he's able to be aggressive with be able to be aggressive with the pricing.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it works out because
So that's a brilliant.
it works out because they, you know, if there's a big project at one or the other, they can they shift staff between them to help the other crew out and just get it done.
That's great.
And he's close by, available if they need him,
Right,
and they're pretty capable guys.
right.
Mm.
It's a good system. Okay, so distribution system labor, that's the union folks. And then the administrative salaries looks bigger because I put all of Ann's money in there, which Ann's tasks used to be in the distribution labor because they were Troy's. So it's a switch in the balance.
I don't understand. I thought Ann was just electric.
No, not on she's all utility. She's mostly electric,
Okay.
but for GIS, asset management, logistics, she's all.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, she's in charge of updating the water asset management plan. Yeah,
Okay.
That's right, because when we interviewed her, we did talk about that she didn't know that as well as she knew the electric department.
So her salary comes out of a little bit
All
of each of them.
all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas Troy's was singular,
No,
and one or his came out of all two.
When he was contracting, it was very heavy on the electric.
Right.
There was a little bit of the others.
what before when he was our foreman, was it equal to this percent wise? No, the
Fairly
same
close,
percent,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Might have been off by 2 or 3% here or there, but yeah. Meter reading labor, I got rid of it. They were splitting it up. Here's collection system, here's meter reading. It's like, it's easier to read. This is the crew and this is the office. It just seemed a lot easier to read to put all the crew labor in one spot. And then all the benefits is for all the above. So it looks like big numbers, but when you come down to it, our entire distribution system is less than you pay one employee, with include their benefits. Yeah, the office expenses, postage, envelopes. I just kept it near I ran things near and just a little bit over actuals because, well, things don't get cheaper.
Yeah, question for you.
Yep.
Actually, me and Linda were talking about this. When you guys send out the water and electric, you put a return envelope in.
Yeah, I'll get rid of that.
Okay,
Yeah, it's kind of,
every little bit counts right now.
Yeah, I told them when they get down to, they get a stock of them. I said, when you get down to where you have, you know, one full round left to stop doing it.
and to send out a notice that you're gonna
Right,
stop.
and that way, if there's a serious backlash, we have enough for, you know, one billing cycle to get, you know, to get back on board.
Rosemary, do you know what percentage, how many people mail their thing in, or do they tend to drop it off?
A lot mail.
A lot of mail? Yes.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
very, I don't know if others.
I think we're the only ones I've never heard. Yeah, I don't think.
Well, we
anybody
could
really does it anymore.
certainly just send half of the envelopes, because we all get, I don't know, there might be a couple people that don't have one or the other. But I get two bills and
Right.
two envelopes.
Right,
Yeah, but
we talked about that.
yeah, I mentioned
Can't
that.
be fixed.
I was talking to the girls and they were saying that it's two different systems, and in order for them to do both of them in one with only one envelope,
Right.
it'd be
Oh,
a lot more time and
Right.
effort and hassle.
yeah, we're getting rid of the envelopes. So we're gonna keep stock of one billing cycle just in case, you know, we woke the bear.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I upped training education because, well, with water licenses, you need to get your contact hours, or you lose your license. I bought a little bit more into legal expenses. Yours fairly close. Audit expense. Outside contracted services. Most of that is Dolan services, so I just knocked it down to 1,000 for in case we need somebody.
For the audit expenses, what is that?
Outside auditors,
Yeah,
Is that for the girls that come in and audit? No, that's for
a firm.
a firm, and so that's what they'll charge is to come in. Aren't we behind on our audits?
Yeah.
So does that cover, what does $400 cover? I mean, are we scheduled to be,
It probably should be more than that.
I just.
yeah,
Yeah, I basically, this one looked at the, you know, here's the budget, here's the actual, here's the budget,
well,
here's the.
that's because they
actual,
never did the audits.
Actual, yeah,
That's because we're behind on the
right,
audits. So if you go way back, you've got 1,500 actual for 19. And they budgeted, you know, so. Probably want to do something because we need to get caught up on those
Because didn't you say it was gonna cost like 10,000 to get audited for
to get caught up.
all the years?
But not just for this,
No, this is
Part.
a portion of it.
yeah.
Right.
Anyway, something to
Yeah.
think about.
Might want to put that back up to 1,600.
Mhm.
You know. Look at that.
Okay,
No, it's about the one above that. It's a 400. You're on the
Oh.
contracted.
oh, into another one, sure. Thank you.
And then Eric's, we are Nate's, we do have his pay calculated with his raise, right? Because we know what he's gonna
Yes.
get. I just want to make
Yes,
sure.
I did
Okay.
6 months at the current rate and 6 months at the base.
Okay.
Yep. And then electricity. I brought it up a little bit, I didn't bring it up a whole lot because I mean, brought up something because I don't know when our rate's gonna hit,
Yeah,
but I know that our costs for electricity, the utilities, the electric utilities cost for electricity looks like they're gonna be fairly stable in the future.
And that's electricity for the buildings. Was that 13 grand electricity or no, that was heat
That was heat.
that we just did. Okay.
This is electricity for all the water systems,
Gotcha.
you know, the pump, the treatment system, all of it. It's, you know, it takes power to put it on the ground, treat it and push it. Kept phone stable, heat stable. Insurance just took the actual number from DLCT. Building supplies fairly stable. Building maintenance, snow removal. And interest expense, because it's, as you can see, it, you know, as your notes get older, your interest goes down and your principal goes up. So that's, you know.
What's B and G?
Buildings and grounds.
Yeah, yeah. All right, operations, plant operations. The consultant services. I put it at 0 because I don't see need for a consultant for the water distribution system when we're not doing an engineered solution at Katie Way. Outside testing, up that a little bit because everything gets more expensive. Same with outside contracted services. Yep, permits, kept the same. Supplies and chemicals, I bumped a little bit because chemicals are getting more expensive because of shipping.
Is that enough?
Dan thought so.
Okay.
Yep, listen, these two budgets, we worked together. Well, Dan and Nate and myself. Yeah. I started my wheelhouse. I've been putting together water and sewer budgets for a long time.
better you than me.
Down the distribution expense. So maintenance. They have $4 grand. I mean,
That's if we have to repair pipes.
right, it could,
Lines.
The pipe, the system's in great shape. A lot of it's new.
Mhm.
They don't have many for leaks. I mean, one horrible leak can blow that budget. I mean, they can't, but they haven't been having it. Meters related experience, Nate's got great inventory right now. So I knocked that down. $35,000 for the Katie Wayne meter house, which we, took reserves for. That's a very conservative number as far as that's a fat number according to Dan. He's like, he's hoping to come in a good bit below that.
But it's a thin number compared to the estimate we
A
got.
whole lot.
Yeah,
But he's,
you're talking about the 189,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. So hopefully we'll come in at 28,000 or whatever and save that money.
I have a question. Is that Manchester debacle that's still going on anything to do with this? Since it's underground and it's just sewer, not the sewer, but the water lines and everything?
It's stormwater.
Okay, so it wouldn't be in any of this one.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
in general.
And
But
we
that's just kind of sitting there.
Right.
No action has been taken as far as we know.
But do we have anything
Diane?
set just in case? Cause I know that they were trying to push that on us.
Right, we need to. Well, I mean, our lawyer said that we're in pretty good shape, right?
Okay.
Did you say that? Moynihan said we're in pretty good shape.
Well, that's what his letters, yeah,
Yeah,
but you never know
right. But
when.
that'd be in the general budget,
Okay,
which we do in 2 weeks.
okay.
So yeah, I'll put a little bit more legal money in the general budget. Unfortunately. That's one thing that these budgets, especially, I've gotten started with electric budget. It's one thing these budgets have gotten better with. Is you're gonna spend a lot less on legal now.
It's a good thing.
Thank you.
So. Parts and supplies. You know. Just because we didn't only use $98, you know, you can't do that. Outside repair work kept fairly stable. Capital purchases. Other than the Katie Win, which I've dealt with above, we don't have any plan for the distribution system. Capital reserve fund. This is something I feel very strongly in, and people that want to lend us money, bond banks, state revolving loan funds, all feel very strongly in. They don't want to, they don't like giving money to people who don't fund reserves,
Mhm.
and we haven't been.
Right.
So we need to make a commitment to funding reserves.
Mhm.
Right now, there's just a very minimal 5% reserve funding. A lot of it's, you know, when, as we can, I'd like to see that built up to about 10%.
That reserve will just be tacked onto the 9.8 above.
So that's part of,
Or is that part of?
That's
that
part of the increase.
9.8?
Right.
yeah, this, I mean, this is one of the expenses. It's part of the increase.
So it's still, everything's under the 9.8.
Right.
at the top. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So. These are all a bunch of things we need to take out because it's projects that are long been gone by. It's just haven't been cleaned up. We'll clean those up before it hits the
Press.
the report. Those be good. So total expenditures before loans, 234,527. Loan costs. The bond bank for Main Street, bond bank for 100C in Pearl. State revolving loan fund. And then there's a SIG fund right there that is the local one that we're borrowing from. So loan cost of 77. Expenses loan is 312. That's been regular was 311. I'm now out of balance because you guys made me up a line item. I wasn't $65.
$1,000 over.
But you know, the reserves, you know, we can, if we're a little out of balance, yeah, we will take 12,000 reserves. You know, but if we come in under, we take 17 in reserves.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
is there anything ARPA we can do help with this or no?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, it's.
Yeah, because ARPA is a one-time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think you're better off trying to do stuff like the water micro and stuff like that.
Yeah, you want to put it into something that's gonna substantial, not a
I
one-time.
mean, this is this rate hit, and I'll show you. Actually, I might go ahead and before I go to the water and sewer, the wastewater, I'm going to jump ahead just to give you. It's a 9 point sounds good.
So all said and done, 9.8 on our on water.
Just it sounds big, right? Let's go to bill comparisons. This next slide, I took actual bills from December of 2022 of different size residence usages
Oh, great.
and some commercial use that spans the range
Great.
and did.
Like a 2-family house and a 4-family and a.
This won't let me do it, huh? While I'm sharing, it's not letting me change tabs. You dirty rat. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. Change tabs,
Oh, yeah, here you go.
and then. There. So. The top three span the general range of single-family residences.
Mhm.
If you look at the green column, their total bill increase is gonna range from $5 to $10.
Mhm.
Mm,
In the grand scheme of things, that's not that much,
all right.
you know?
So this is just water, though, the sewer's
No,
gonna be,
no, this is the total water and sewer
oh,
bill.
total water and sewer.
That's why I jumped ahead, just because.
Okay.
9.8, but let's look at what that does. Okay, I'll jump back into wastewater. Yeah. So. We've got the first three are your range of residences. The next one's. Well, it's a generic grocery store that you can't guess which one it is.
That's not very much of an increase. $50 for
Yeah, but you know, with
sewer.
that bill, with that water bill, it's an automatic $50 charge. Anyway, right? Even if you've never used a drop of water, your
Right.
bill will be $50.
Yeah, there's base charges
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
the infrastructure.
Yeah,
That's gonna stay the same? Or it's part of the whole increase?
No, that'll increase at 9.8. Everything goes at
Okay.
9.8%.
Okay,
It's all the same across the board. Your fixed charges and your metered charges all go up 9.8%. But there's a result,
mhm.
Mhm.
you know.
who's the second highest volume business user? Can you say or not?
I can, but I've got to remember. Something Hill,
Something what?
Hill or something. Apartments.
It's probably Travis Hill property, probably T Hill Realty. It's probably our Airbnbs, because we have 4 houses in the daycare.
No, this is a big. Big low income house in the apartment building.
Oh, on St. John Street or School Street?
St. John's.
Oh, yeah.
It's St. John Street.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, the big complex up there.
Mm,
yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
And-
yeah, if you notice a multifamily, I didn't do a low multifamily like a duplex. I did a medium usage, a high usage, and a very high usage.
Do they pay, their own utilities there?
It's one bill. So they,
Oh.
it's part of it, it's part of the.
So it's one big meter going in and then
Yeah,
Because they're.
everybody must pay some kind of a fee to live
which is,
there.
which is great for us,
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah,
because you're not tracking down,
Right.
yeah.
all these tenants for payment.
Right,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it would be very expensive to convert it to individual.
well,
Yeah, that
that's
would
low
be
income
out-
housing too,
Is
that's
it-
section 8 housing.
One thing I did in Heinsberg that concerned trying to push here, we can't do electricity because of, they've got a lot more rules. But I added the landlord to the water and sewer bills. Even if it was two, you're individually paid.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Don't they do that with the electric bill, the
They can.
landlords?
How do you mean by add it? Who gets the bill?
Well, even if the tenant gets the bill,
Uh-huh.
it'll say Joe Schmo or
Oh.
XYZ Properties,
Mhm.
and it's addressed to the tenant. And then if the tenant skedaddles, landlord's still on the hook,
Mhm.
and then you don't have the, what do we call those that they just approved last month?
Oh, write-ups?
Yeah, then you don't have write-ups,
Uncollected debt.
because they're stuck.
Mhm.
So,
Well, thank you for doing that. That's
Yeah, that was-
nice to know.
yeah, and this is just one to, I can't, never mind. It's a proposed rate, it's just a big chart. It's not of much use, well, it is to me, but it's just. Or you can more.
we don't care.
Oh, this time it allowed me to do it. I know it was stuff last time. Alrighty. This will look like a repeat because a lot of things are kind of they're coded the same and such. So sewer assessments is the same thing as, you know, water calls it fees, sewer calls it assessments. The 500,000 is, you know, accounting for 9.8 rate increase. And 25, it goes into, this is a 25K reserve, which is the 5% because the budget's bigger. Sewer application fees, I did the same thing as water. I didn't put in revenue for, I guess, it's the basic numbers, and hopefully we have more money because more people hook up. Interest earned just slightly goes up all the time. So you see reserve fund, this is where we were sucking money from reserves. But well. I don't know why I've got this black blot out here. It's very strange. Well, we'll have to fix that later. Not sure why that disappeared. Mysteries of Excel. So just know that the last column is this year's budget, and the column before is the actuals in 2022. So don't know why that did that. It's just to frustrate me because it's.
Can you color the background white and would it show? Is it just the background, you think?
This seems like this stuff is just. Yeah, it's just
Gone.
It's just gone.
That must be
I'm gonna-
yours.
I'm
Do
gonna
you
be
have one of
popular.
these?
Yeah,
have-
it's.
Do you have
oh,
one
man.
of those?
Yeah.
Because I have two, I don't have the wastewater.
Yeah, I don't either.
I guess all I have is the water.
Oh, I didn't do water. Yep,
No, you did wait, you did the water, not the wastewater.
I didn't print wastewater,
Right.
That's it, you're fired.
which I can print them for folks when they
Yeah,
want.
doesn't matter.
No, I'm good. Okay. So. Total revenue of 506,483. Plant operations and maintenance. That's another one where it used to be.
The boys doing it.
Our staff and.
Yeah.
I just kept 250 in there for when someone screws up and does something wrong.
Mm.
Collection system labor. It's the same as distribution system labor. It's the same exact number because, you know, the percentage of water and the percentage of wastewater that come out of their salaries is the same. And same with the office staff. Same with all these numbers are exactly the same as you saw on the water side. Office expense is fairly, you know, also similar. I just kind of had fun with this one. Contracted services went down because we no longer have a services contract. Electricity did a slight bump. Well, I did a slight bump. Heat, just due to what we've been seeing, I went down just a hair. Forget why.
the buildings-
Costs are starting to come down.
The
Yeah,
buildings and
Yeah,
grounds,
because. Oh, sorry, because gas prices are down and forecast to go down more, natural gas and such. And because we, you know, hey, half of this budget, we're already in this winter's warm,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so
So are we gonna save money this year?
we should. I mean, there's a lot less.
I know,
When it's 45 degrees in February,
Yeah.
I know.
the fourth warmest January on record. So,
And so if we have a super cold winter, That money can get put forward, right? Can be brought.
Yeah, the good thing about enterprise funds is electric, water, wastewater. If you finish with a surplus, you keep that money.
Okay,
It rolls forward.
okay,
You know, it goes into basically the reserve.
okay.
Yeah. It's different than tax based. It's a business. It's not,
Mhm.
So my question is, buildings and grounds, is there two separate numbers for our share of the expenses of this building and then the sewer treatment plant building?
so
Is that treated separately?
right, so the water wastewater buildings are done under their budget, not under the none of the general budget. Okay. Yeah. They're basically a separate entity, and they have to pay their bills and, Yep,
Insurance went down
it did.
by a lot.
Well, some of it I think shifted to electric because they were the workman's comp thing was for some reason shoved more on the water sewer side than in the previous budgets. And I did it as as the split should be. So
So what kind of insurance is it?
this
Which one
last,
are you in?
last something like insurance is different.
That's property
That's a
insurance.
property.
That's property
Yeah,
insurance,
that's a
right?
property, but yeah, that's the actual numbers.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Not looking to gift horse in the mouth on that one.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's unusual to see it go down.
But that's
Yeah.
only, yeah.
Yeah. See, building supplies kept fairly flat, same with maintenance, same with snow removal. Interest expenses as same as the other one, it slides down as you pay off a note.
Yeah.
Trash recycling, I brought up a little bit because everyone's charging more. Sludge disposal, I bumped up. So same thing, trucking.
Do we have dumpsters here for our trash? Well, how does it, there's dumpsters here at the,
No, the custodians take it to the town garage.
no. Who's the custodian in there?
Alletary.
Are we still is?
Outside testing. It bumped up a little bit. Because they've got, I forget the tests, there's extra tests that they need to do every few years, and this year's got one of them. Outside contracted services. This is Dan's crew.
H2O.
Yep, this is their actual bill. You'll see that because other things might happen. I think some of Troy's money might have ended up there. Permits and fees, we're in good shape. I brought that down because we just paid our NIPD's permit last year. That's why it was up. So our 5-year wastewater permit, last year's budget. Other supplies have bumped up, just to be prudent. Chemicals have bumped up. Consistent maintenance, I kept pretty much to experience. Electric system construction. I put in $5,000 because they're gonna need risers and such for the Main Street project. Parts and supplies. So outside repairs and parts have bumped a little bit. Pretty, yeah, not much. Current year purchase, I forget what that was. What was that? You told me or Dan told me, and You don't need to buy it, whatever it was. I should have put a note on that one, but I didn't. Safety equipment had bumped up a little bit. Same with miscellaneous, because the catch up. So total expenses of $45,999. Plus the loan expenses of $40,000. Comes up with us in the green at $9,900. So yeah, wastewater is a little meter than water.
So that 32,600, is that the that you caught?
Oh, so that's not in the budget. That's it.
It, because it would start next year,
Would have
right?
started this year.
Oh,
We'd
okay,
have, we'd have paid a
So it's not-
$6,250 payment starting this year,
okay,
and we don't do that.
great.
It's big fat zero. Yep. So there they are, and hopefully. So that there'll have to be at some, the budget will have to be approved. Actually, so these budgets, water, wastewater, electrical, are approved by this board. Only general goes to the others.
Oh, I see, okay.
General is a tax-based budget, so the taxpayers don't know it. These, the water and sewer commissioners and their electric commission approves it. Well, you guys approved the budget for electric, but the PUC has to bless any rate increase. You were also the approving authority for water and sewer rate increases.
So, sorry. go ahead.
Tonight? Or do we do it piece by piece, or do we wait till we've got all the numbers?
Do you think we could do it tonight, or should we actually do the vote next time?
Does the board want to sleep on it, or are you okay with it?
I'm okay
With
it.
this,
Okay with it?
I'd rather it be all of us.
You want, okay, we can wait till hopefully Ken is back. Yeah.
Yeah, because he can watch this YouTube and see everything you said and everything you
Right.
showed us, so he should
That's a good
be
idea.
caught up to a vote.
Yep.
Yeah, the fact that he can watch it on YouTube,
Makes a world of
because
difference.
otherwise just handing him all
Agreed.
this.
And we can give him the hard copy too.
And he can,
If he's got any questions, he can,
Right, need to ask questions. I mean, it would be good to have this just listed as, just an action next one, because we don't have to go
we
through
don't
it
need to
again,
talk it, yeah.
because we have a big chew on electrical in general.
Agreed.
Yep. They will watch 2 or 3 of the next time.
so with the EPSA thing we got in the packet,
Yes,
I know we're not doing it, but so will these figures be in the budget for electric? This amount of money,
oh, yeah,
64,000,
yep, so the last page of the packet, you just want to, if you want to read ahead. I just kind of put it in there for pre-reading. The budget for BEPSA is an 18.4% increase because of the Vermont legislature. That's gone up 88%. The renewable energy standard certificates. The actual BEPSA admin costs with their 18% jump in health insurance and having it, their employees raises is only 6.2%. So.
And then we're gonna have a percentage on top of that, just because we haven't raised our rates in forever, right?
Right. So BEPS is, it's like, BEPS is doing 18% increase, but this is just their one pager to let us know where it is. It's all passed through. It's the state of Vermont. It's the ransom to make us get off of fuel. Basically.
So
We
that,
gotta
2
do
weeks we'll do
something.
the electric
In the general.
and the general. And you anticipating with the electric about the similar numbers to this, like you're gonna try to keep it under 10%? Or,
I doubt it.
uh-huh,
Your,
And that's one of those things we can't increase it, until
the
so
study,
wait, I'm gonna find out, where it's gonna be exactly, and we gotta figure out short term money.
uh-huh.
But yeah. Everyone's been coming in, the 12 to 14, 15%. People whose rate cases are already further ahead of us. Everyone is going in. And they're all double digits.
So we have to do our budget with our old rates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta do some magic, basically. But,
the study is going to be done this summer, correct?
yeah, our rate case is gonna be picked up be filed in June. Yeah.
We have no control how much they raise it, correct?
Our input and work with VIPSA to justify it is what we have. Here's why we need this.
So it'll be-
We present all the evidence, and PUC either says yes or says, no, you only need this.
So we could ask for X amount and they could say,
No,
nope, you can have this amount.
right, which I don't know if you follow the news, that has happened with GMP.
Mhm.
What's happened here?
It's happened here.
So the number will get figured out kind of in a team of you, Ann and Rosemary, what we're giving them, the numbers we're giving them, or,
It's, yeah, we got ours and with a lot of help from Steve Farm from VIPSA.
okay.
He's gonna be basically smithing it all. And he knows what he needs. So he'll be saying, hey, I need these numbers. Of course, your budget and then all the other pertinence he wants. And
Okay,
he'll compile it and we'll sell it. Hopefully we do a good job. And hopefully we're in a good mood.
I don't meet with them on a Friday
No, or Monday,
or a Monday.
right?
All right, so before the next meeting, if we're gonna vote on it all, you'll have printed up the water one for us. The proposed, because I mean, the proposed,
Oh, yeah, just do a motion. The motion, okay,
yeah, I mean, we don't have to have this whole 3 pages, but we'll just have a 1-page thing of what the water's gonna be and what the sewer's gonna be proposed and.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you
Yeah,
for doing all that.
yeah, thank you.
That was painless.
not bad.
Yeah, painless for us.
There's a lot
Yeah, not my thing.
of cold hair on that.
Oh, I have a question. Do you know, because I think, we saw a chart one time where Johnson Electric, where it stood as far as how much we get charged per kilowatt or something. And we were kind of in the middle.
We are.
Orleans was way down. Are they going up the same rate?
No, they're going up more.
They are, because they were really on the bond.
Yeah,
Okay,
they've got problems.
really?
Funded.
I'm not talking about Barton. I'm
Well,
talking,
Barton's worse, yeah.
oh, Barton.
Yeah.
Okay, so Orleans is,
I think it's gonna go high.
okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so moving along, the agenda number 4, discussion of the feedback from the trustees' interviews of office staff needs.
And before we start on that one, as you know, Steve, we've had a little disagreement on this, so I just want to have it documented. I feel moving forward with discussing Marla's stuff is unlawful. And I have a little thing here that I'd like to read. After I read it, I'll just leave it up to you guys to do whatever. The executive session statute says all meetings are to be open except in certain circumstances. One of those reasons is disciplinary and dismissal actions against the public officer or employee. But nothing in this subsection shall be construed impaired the right of such officers or employees in a public hearing if the forum charges are brought. 1 VSA section 313A4. The statute does not require that the employer actually undertake or be planning to undertake disciplinary actions to justify executive session. The purpose of the statute provision is to protect the employee's privacy so that the employer can discuss the employee's issue in private, in a non-public setting, to avoid potential embarrassment in for the employee and allow that to happen outside the public view. So I motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing a potential disciplinary action involving an employee.
Even though it's not really. Yeah.
Yep, that's just,
Yep, it's just the way it's written.
that's just
Yep.
my thinking. That's it.
So you're not motioning right now for us to enter an
Yes.
executive?
Yeah, that's
You
exactly
are.
what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
you have to warn it. You have to warn an executive
That-
session.
Correct. I actually warned it. It was turned down because I was told this wasn't executive session worthy. So that's why I'm stating my piece before we move forward with it.
Shoot, had you done that at the review of agenda, adjustments and changes, we could go in.
Well, I actually did it and we've kind of been arguing about it for the past few
We
days.
talked about it, right?
Yeah, so it's been out there. I've had my thing. I should, like, you know about it yesterday. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned it to you. A couple days ago, I mentioned it to you. I got turned down. All I'm doing is clearing myself, having it documented about the wireless section
Mhm.
that we bring up. I know you guys feel you don't need an executive session. I feel we do.
No,
That's it.
I agree. It's better in executive session. Just when I read of the statute, I didn't see where we could.
And I read the same exact statute and I feel we can.
Right, where do you get the explanation part?
From Brian Monahan, Monogram, whatever it is.
Okay.
Monahan.
So that's a further read, that's beyond the statute.
No, that's his opinion.
This is opinion.
That's opinion.
Okay,
And he's basically saying to go into, because I mean,
Right.
what I was gonna say was no mention of names. It was just the issues that we
Well, no,
discussed.
it was a discussion and we can mention the names and stuff like that. That I just put, my issue is, and I told Steve this, my issue is I put this in for an executive session. I didn't get any kind of feedback. It was changed without my knowledge, without talking to me, without getting any information from me. It was automatically changed. So I brought it to Steve's attention, mentioned it to Steve. Steve agreed with Eric that it doesn't need to be an executive session. So again, all I'm doing is stating my personal feeling that I felt it should be an executive session, the Marla part. That's just my personal feeling. Because it's an employee and I feel it should be private. And it all comes down to interpretation of the wording. That's really all it is.
Right.
And my interpretation is different than other people's.
Yeah, mine is that it doesn't involve a discipline.
right.
We're not hiring her or firing her. We're just talking about day-to-day
Changes.
changes in an office routine. And I don't know if that's necessary to do executive session every time for that, but
And that's fine. I'm just,
I haven't reached out. We can. I guess I haven't seen this thing from our attorney. And maybe we should get some more guidance.
all I did was email them like you guys could have easily done yourselves
Uh-huh.
and to get his opinion on it. All I know is I was freaking pissed when I put it in and it got changed without even contacting me. As
Right.
I look at it as disrespectful. Like your boss tells you, hey, can you do this? and then you get ignored and it gets changed, I was fucking pissed.
Uh-huh.
Like, I mean, you know,
Well,
you dealt with
yeah.
me.
Watch.
There were some other issues going on here too, and we need to discuss them. And I don't know if an executive session is appropriate for that or not, because again, it's the same thing where it's not a discipline involved. But the fact that you're pissed, I think, points to some other problems around the whole way this went down.
I know, this
And
is,
our whole other discussion
no, that's
about
just
the
your opinion.
conflict of interest.
No, that's 100% your opinion, because I'll argue that conflict of interest thing, which we will argue that next week. We'll definitely take care of that, but this has nothing to do with the
Okay.
conflict of interest. This was 100% what I told you. I put it in, I asked an employee to do something, they changed it, and if they felt like it wasn't correct, I should have got a call back out of respect and said, hey, I don't feel this follows, can I get more information? Because
Well, I agree with you
they
on
weren't
that
in
one
part
point,
of none of this.
that Eric should have at least returned.
That's
Okay.
that was my issue, that was it.
Uh-huh.
Yep, I should have said something. It wasn't disrespect, it was just. Freaking drowning. I've just been.
But I feel like-
I've been cranky.
But you had time to call Steve about it. You should
All
have
I
called
did
the
with Steve
person.
is I sent him his draft agenda because it's his agenda. You know, for him
He's the
to
chair.
look, I mean, and that
Yeah,
actually.
but he can't call a chair to turn around and change something that I gave him without
This-
talking to me on it.
This is this actually brings up a point with how it probably should happen. When a trustee wants something on the agenda, they should email the chair and CC me asking Steve to put on the agenda.
See, and that's a dictatorship.
And you CC me because
That's just your
it
opinion.
belongs.
Okay, well, you know what? My opinion matters here. That's a dictatorship.
The agenda
No, it's
belongs to.
That's
We haven't had to do that in the past. We
no.
shouldn't be starting it now.
Maybe we need to sit down and talk about, because all of this is connected. And my opinion is you're talking about a dictatorship, but the other end of that is in some ways you've become an independent operator where
We are 5 independent operators, and that's what we are, because you know what? The word chair and vice chair only means in this meeting, we have a little bit of say how the meeting run. Outside this meeting, me, and you are 100% equal. No one has any more power than the other person outside this meeting.
For sure, but I think
And Diane, you more than once have,
interrupted Diane.
I thought I was still talking. Actually, she interrupted me. Thank you. So Diane, more than once, I mean, I don't really want to hear that we should do this, because when Will was on a chair, you were doing it constantly with putting shit on the agenda without talking to anybody. Now you may speak.
I guess I don't remember doing that, because you can't add something to the agenda. And people get the agenda ahead of time. I don't recall doing that. Can you name an instance?
We would have to go back and get it, because I know more than once Will was kind of pissed that you did it. So we have to go figure it out.
Okay.
First of all, I don't think bringing what Will did is appropriate to our discussion, because I feel like he and some of the other previous trustees made some big mistakes. And so I don't think it's appropriate for us to use that as the model for how we.
No, it is when this certain subject was done in the past, and she just asked, when did she do it? And I had to state, I can't say the imaginary chair, right? No, it was during Will's term. More than once, she ended up doing it. Anytime that we've been here, we've been able to call the manager, Meredith usually, or Eric, and say, hey, can you put this on the agenda? It's been put on the agenda, and it's never had to go through the chair since I've been here. And I've been here just as long as you, and longer than these two. That's how it's been. And I feel if I have to go through you to get your opinion on it and you're okay on it, that's a dictatorship.
But if you're just doing your own agenda and not CCing me or Eric, which you have done,
My
that's,
agenda, what do you mean? Can you speak
yes,
specifically?
this whole thing, well, you've done investigations of people that
It was brought to the board. The board was made aware of it. The board gave permission of it. I went through the proper channels to do everything I've done. And all the board had to do was say, no, we don't agree with that. And that would have stopped me. Because we cannot do any actions by ourselves. We have to go through the board to get the okay. Every single thing I put on the agenda and I brought to the board, I got permission from the board to continue. So if you want to give somebody shit for that, that's the board making the decisions on saying, yes, move forward with that. And even in a situation where I got the board to say to move forward with it, I actually took myself out of one situation because that could have been a conflict of interest. And I took myself out of that. I went to Linda. I said, you know what? This possibly could be a conflict, seen as a conflict of interest. Linda said, actually, I thought about that too. I said, by any chance, can you get Diane to do these things with you? And she said, yes. But the board gave me permission to do it. So, but I took myself out of that.
So haven't you emailed Anne to ask her how stuff is going?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm allowed to do that. We can do that.
But we hired Eric to be our manager, and you're kind of trying to, I think, to do his job.
Absolutely not. He can do all the discipline and then like the stuff we found, we're going to bring to Eric to do the management. You're telling me as a trustee, I'm not allowed to ask any of the employees anything?
I think,
Is that what you're,
I think one of the things he's bringing up is this morning Ann came to me like confused and a bit troubled that, you know, that you emailed her saying that you guys, we want to move your desk.
No.
And I wasn't even copied on it,
No.
much less brought in the loop.
during the conversation, it was got up about Ann being in the back room. Well, with her doing solar, she's going to be front seeing more. So one of the questions, which was going to be brought up tonight in the meeting, was should we move Ann's desk to the front? And then I was like, well, we should kind of get Ann's opinion on this first. So I just asked Ann, how do you feel about being in the back? Do you feel like you're secluded or would you prefer to be out in the front? She said she prefers to be in the back because it's quiet. There's no disciplinary. There's no asking her anything that would be in your realm. It's a trustee asking an employee how they feel about something. And we are 100% have the right to do that. I mean, you came into the office and talked to employees. All you guys have come into the office and talked to employees. But when I do it, it's a conflict of interest because my wife breathes the same air as everybody. So I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. And trust me, we'll get into that next week.
Okay.
But
Here's the thing about conflict of interest is that you don't see it until it's too late.
would you like me to read the thing on a conflict of interest? If you want to go to the conflict of interest tonight, I am gladly willing to do it because I have some stuff here. I will 100% go there if you want it tonight, or we can wait until the next meeting. Up to you.
I'm willing to take some time to do that, but I think that first we need to, so I'm going to say for the record, I feel like I made a mistake voting, to have you do the office investigations. And that it is, I believe, conflict of interest, whatever you read or our opinions, if it's a feeling you have, and that we as a board can vote whether or not we feel like there is one, because of the fact that we're paying the price for a conflict of interest that other people said they didn't think it would be a problem.
Okay, and okay, go ahead, sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, so it's the once bitten, twice cautious thing. Conflict of interest there's a reason why they have those laws. So I can just give you a quick example on that. With Marla working at the office, say that she didn't like that Lydia didn't like her. You're going to have like inside stuff that's going to maybe hurt her from getting a promotion. It could work the other way around. like, say Susan Tinker was the best person for the job, you know, but Lydia really liked Marla. It's just a problem when you have people that are that closely related working together. And to me, it doesn't matter what proof you or anyone presents. If enough of the trustees have the feeling that that's a conflict, we should just be able to vote on that. And
So
decide.
you're saying because for adults, like, it's like that saying, what is the saying? Everybody has opinion. I can't remember. So because your personal feelings, you say you can tell me it's a conflict of interest.
I think conflict of interest is decided on by a board. And I think it's voted on after trustees have discussed it. But I do believe that I have read that conflict of interest, there's
What does
no
conflict of interest
specific
mean?
thing that tells if it's conflict of interest or not, but it's the board that discusses it and can see it as a problem.
Okay.
So,
Well, he was bringing up conflict of interest, like Meredith and Troy. Meredith is directly over Troy, discipline thing. Conflict of interest, a situation where a person is in a position to divert personal benefit from actions or discussions made in their official capacity. Okay, besides Lydia breathing the same air as these guys, Lydia doesn't do projects with them to where I can go, yes, she can do this. If it was a project or something, I would take myself out of it. Marla working overtime. Lydia don't want to work overtime. Lydia could care less. In your guys' meeting, you found out none of the girls have issues with each other. They all like each other. Marla working certain times.
talking about what you want to go into executive session.
No, Marla's doing certain things that have nothing to do with Lydia, and Lydia don't give a shit about him. So how is that a conflict of interest besides she working in the same workplace? That would mean I can't talk to Eric. I can't talk to Ann. I can't talk to no one because they breathe the same air as her downstairs. Really? That to me is closed-mindedness. People, if I was over her or if there was a decision to be made, like I took myself out of the investigation. Did I or did I not? You're there. To me, I felt that would be a conflict of interest because if anybody had an issue with Lydia, they may not speak freely to me and they might feel that it would get back to Lydia. So I took myself out because you know what? I considered that could be a potential conflict of interest. But an employee that I'm dealing with and we're trying to, this stuff that I found, if I wasn't doing it, it'd still be going on and we can solve this and save ourselves some money. I mean, this is important stuff that we found out. And if it wasn't me for pushing it and keep on it, it would still be in the same spot.
I think that you could have let Eric, given he just barely got here and he's been here 6 months. And I think all of this stuff could have and would have been solved by him.
And you know what? And I told you this and I apologize, but I told Eric about the whole working from home thing. And he said, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. A couple weeks later, it happened again. Did you get to it? I hadn't got to it yet, but I got to wait until the right time. A little while later, we find out that the computer is not firewalled. Eric, did you get? No. So, you know what? Like, I'm a boss of people too, out Smugs. And when I need to talk to an employee and change something, I talk to the employee and change something. It's not 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later. And then he still didn't do it. So
It wasn't 4 weeks. It was
3 weeks.
It was the next week.
It was more than the next week from when we first discussed this. And then
Trying to have a meeting with the other, supervisor and people in there and actually have it be not directed at one person, but a policy for the entire shop.
No, and I agree with that, but you could have done it, like, you got it done with. Not waited a couple of weeks. And then like the firewall on a computer there was no firewall on that computer. Like the longer she kept doing it, the more we were going to be screwed with that. But Eric's also been sending me
security on the computer.
on a computer.
From home.
Eric's also been sending me the timesheet, so I know he looks at them too. But none of these issues got brought up, but I noticed them and I brought it to your guys' attention. It doesn't hurt. There should be no one person that the buck stops at, even with Eric, it should never stop. There's always counter and balances and all this stuff. When you stop at one person, that's when shit screws up. So that's why we are there to oversee things, to look at things differently. We're the outsiders. This is something we noticed. We're going to bring it to Eric tonight to ask him to, hey, this is on your plate. We're bringing this to your attention. Can you take care of this? We have total faith in Eric that he will, but there's nothing wrong with me.
Sounds to
finding
me
it.
like you're saying that you
Didn't what?
have faith in Eric, that you felt like you had to.
No, I'm not saying, do I think eventually he would have figured out? Yeah, but what's wrong with me finding it out earlier and bringing it to his attention with the investigation? What's wrong with that?
When she left and went on that vacation was in my first month. And I took note of it and I was like, is this normal? You know, it was one of those things that I kept, I didn't like it. But you don't, when you're the new person, especially in charge, you don't come in stomping. You come in, you listen and you watch, you gain trust, and then you make changes. And
Well, you can definitely go down that route. And I agree. Some people like to go down that route. Me, if there's a problem, we fix the problem so it no longer is a problem. We don't just sit there and wait for that perfect timing to let somebody under us to tell them that they're doing something wrong, which it wasn't even wrong. I'm not even saying anything that was done was wrong. It just wasn't where we wanted to go. And we wanted to make those changes. And that's all I'm saying. And this whole thing, it wasn't even, the intention wasn't to find something. The intention is where we're looking at payroll. Everybody's payroll. The guys is freaking perfect. And I started noticing this. And I even got to a point where I was like, Linda, by any chance you want to come in on this with me, just because I shouldn't be doing this myself. One, because I know that other people have this conflict of interest issue. So if you come in with me, at least it's two of us looking at this stuff. Again, I brought it in and I personally didn't feel it was conflict of interest, but because of other people, I brought her into it, asking her if she would come into it with me. So it's two eyes instead of one.
You know where the conflict of interest comes in though, is that you probably would not have looked into all of this if Lydia wasn't in the office and telling you Marlo stayed late.
Oh, I absolutely, it wasn't.
Have known
Well, I noticed that from payroll. The reason that I got into it is because a certain town worker outside of this building was saying that they were going to do their meter readings or whatever, and it wasn't done the day before because Marlo wasn't there or some weird shit. And I was like, okay, let's just look at the blanket stuff, because we knew we had issues with the village, like the overtime and everything. And that's when I brought everything into it. And then as I kept going with the village guys, it's like, okay, normal. And then we started seeing the discrepancies. And that's when I brought it to you guys. Hey guys, this is what I'm finding. And I would like to talk to these guys. Yeah, you can do it. Like, you guys are looking back and saying, I was doing this wrong, and this wrong, but every step of the way, I kept you informed. I never did anything by myself because I know we can't. I didn't set up a second meeting by myself because I know I have to go in front of the board. I mean, I've done everything by this board's book and got permission from this board to have this board turn around and bitch saying I'm doing things wrong when I've got permission from you. So it's just like, honestly, it's like mind blowing. Like, do these people not pay attention to what they say, or do they just run off at the mouth and then as soon as they leave here, gone? You guys give me permission to do this. Why did you give me permission? And then when I do it, turn around and say, oh, it's a conflict of interest. I'd like to know that.
Well, I think the conflict of interest is settled.
I've actually told you that.
Oh, no, he literally said.
I've told you that even before there was, I've told you that was a concern of mine for a long time.
Yeah, back when we were doing payroll, when we were doing the wages, you mentioned it.
And you told me
she's not an our employee.
And I don't totally agree with that. That's your, yeah.
Rosemary is Can I ask you, is Lydia and Marla, is Lydia partial town employee and village employee, or is Lydia a town employee that's reimbursed by the village, vice versa with Marla?
Correct.
Thank you.
It's a technical thing, just because, yes,
No, it's not.
the money comes from us.
You're spinning in a circle just because you're 100% wrong. It is not a split person. It's like us saying, the store got the money from Joe Smo and sold this, but that's his money and that's her money. Technically, no. The fact is the town pays Lydia 100%. We pay Marla 100%. And we both get reimbursed. And honestly, you've been in this just as long as you should know that, Steve. You shouldn't be confused about it. You should 100% know there is no split here. There is split with her and Sue. There is no split with Marla and Lydia. Plain and simple, black and white.
I don't agree. It's not that simple.
You can agree with it. You can.
I can,
That's right there to
okay.
tell you. If you don't agree with that, please
It's
ask
really your
Rosemary.
terminology.
I told you, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people that it's just a feeling that it's not.
The feelings. Okay, let's go by facts instead of feelings.
All right, so I guess the best, so would you accept if we hire Brian Moynihan to tell us whether or not there's a conflict of interest?
Absolutely. I'm like 100% fine with that.
Okay. Because
And you know what? I would have even been fine with it when I was doing this and you just come out and said,
well,
oh, no, we don't want you to do the investigation. No, we do not want you to continue to look into it, and voted instead of telling me I can't do it and then turn around and backstab the hell out of me.
no, I'm not.
Oh, yo, man, here, that's my bat. Look at all the fucking knives in it. Don't tell me that. No, I'm not going to watch my language. Kenny isn't here. Somebody needs to act like fucking Kenny.
You need to really
Opinions are like
watch,
assholes, and this place has so freaking many of them.
just be respectful to people around you.
Oh, just be respectful to the people
That's
around me that are telling me that, oh, I got a conflict of interest, but not one thing they can say is the conflict, because they don't know that we have an employee that is not split. It's a freaking employee that's ours against another employee that has nothing to do with us. Where the heck is a conflict of interest here? And then Steve tried saying, well, you look at Meredith and Troy. Dude, they're one over the other in the same role, discipline and everything. If it had anything to do with them two got in a fight downstairs, I'd back myself out. That's a conflict of interest. Them two working on the same project, back myself out. That's a conflict of interest. But by what we're doing, checking overtime and this stuff, which is petty, it's just to get our books in order, because we only account for a budget of 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. Overtime matters. That's
We
it.
agree with you on that.
So how is that a conflict? Can you tell me how that's a conflict of interest, me looking into overtime?
I was under the impression that Lydia and Marla were both some village and town.
Mhm.
So with you being on the board and overseeing that whole crowd,
Oh, I get it.
then that is a
You know
conflict
what?
of
If
interest.
that was true, I 100% agree with you. But now, since Lydia is town, Marla is village, they have nothing to do with each other. They're actually separate. Lydia does not, we won't tell her what to do. Is that a conflict of interest now? Because you just said it was a conflict of interest when you thought they were mixed.
Mhm.
Since you know they're not mixed, is that a conflict of interest?
I guess I'd have to really think about it
Okay,
and,
fair.
okay,
Sure.
yeah. And I'd have to read what the conflict of interest statements say.
Fair.
But I also think that if you told Eric to look into something, and then if you would check in, or even me, if I asked him to do something, I think it would be good to go back the next week and say, have you looked into it? And then say, I think this is really kind of a priority, or, can you really get on it?
And we will
I
be
think-
doing, and we'll be doing that with what we got.
Right.
But the thing before, I did bring it, I told him once, and then I ended up mentioning it again. And then the last time is when we called the IT after we had the meeting here, and we called the IT and shut it off because there was no firewall. I shouldn't have had to shut that off a couple weeks later. That should, like, if you don't want to talk to her at that point, you should at least shut off the computer with no firewall on it. Like, that should have been a priority. But that's my opinion. He was brand new to it, and I definitely get what he's saying with working your way into it and stuff like that. But like, a computer with no firewall, just like shut it off, and then if she comes to you, say, hey, this is the situation. But I'm not
But
doing
the firewall thing, you figured it out and shut it down before I even knew. So
Oh, yeah, that
chance
was
to do that.
You're right. That was at the very end. You're 100% right, because you didn't end up doing it for the couple of weeks. You didn't end up talking to him and fixing that thing. So I was like, okay, we just dealt with firewalls at Smugs for some reason earlier that day. So I ended up calling and say, hey, do we have firewalls on this? No. Okay, and I shut it down, and then that's when I sent that email out saying no more working from home, because we had already talked in this meeting that no one was working from home. So I had every right to say, hey guys, just all of them, like he was talking about wanting to do it with all of them, saying, hey guys, no one was working from home.
Yeah. Well,
And it was abroad.
I was trying to do it, so I talked to, I talked to Rosemary at one point, and I talked to Brian at one point, but I was trying to get everyone together. And you know what? It's tough herding cats in that office.
No, and I know, and it's just, I just felt it just gave me a little wrong taste, because it took a couple weeks to do it, and it's like I was able to find it out, so I brought it to you. I was like, okay, here we gotta deal with this situation. It's important. I think I saw you one time after that where something was going on. I don't know if we're having a meeting. Has it been done? Not yet. And then after that, it was the IT thing. And then I brought it to your guys and we shut it down. But even
There's also in the middle of the whole other working fiasco that
No.
I was dealing with.
and I get that. That's why I said, you know what, you had a lot going on and stuff, but this was something I brought to you. If it was Steve that brought to you and said, hey, do it, will you do this? I'm sure it would have been done a lot faster. I mean, because you believe in this whole hierarchy of the chair tells everybody what to do, and no one else tells anybody what to do, and you have to go to the chair and
Okay, when I
The chair,
the school board,
the chair is just,
for the meetings.
it's just the agenda. It's
I know.
It's its agenda. That's it. And I didn't even look back, you said earlier, as far as like, you said, it was, you found disrespectful because, his boss told him to do it, and he didn't do it. That's something that needs to be worked out. Because, any three of you are my boss. Okay, if one board I'd be chasing my tail,
No.
because you could tell me
Actions. No, with
you
actions.
can tell me exactly the opposite.
Okay.
An hour apart from each other.
Okay, and that's with actions. To come on and have you ask you to put something on the agenda is not an action. I am not telling you, hey, you have to do this without the quorum. A decision with an action is a quorum. If I'm asking you to put something on the agenda, I do not need a quorum. I can ask you and you need to put it on the agenda. If you want to get technical on it, I can go that route too. I do not need a quorum to ask you to put anything on the agenda.
there's gotta be,
I-
be something written down.
I am just
that says
the-
chain of command.
I'm just the secretary, I guess, when it comes to the agenda.
Correct.
It's not my agenda, it's his agenda.
No, it's
Well,
our agenda.
This is one thing where I don't totally agree with Eric. I did not mind other people putting stuff on the agenda, but some of them have asked me, I didn't care that much about how we did that. So in this respect, BJ, I did not have a problem with you putting something on the agenda and not even asking me, but some of
I won't. I will not ask to put something on the agenda. I do not have to ask. Like I said, I mean, I respect you, Steve, but this is not a dictatorship, and I have every right to have something put on that agenda and him to put it on. And if he has any issues with it, I welcome. BJ, I do not think this falls under Okay, what do you mean? Let's discuss it. I am so for that because I value his opinion. But to not say nothing to me and then change it and then tell me right here well, you could have changed it at the beginning of the meeting. What do you mean? I told you 2 weeks ago to put it on.
Well, there was the question of legality with it. And I should look back and I just, it fell off my plate. It wasn't a disrespectful thing, it was a, you know.
A couple days ago, we started discussing it again a couple days ago.
It didn't look legal. Well,
And
That was
and
one-
short of the opinion read of a lawyer that I hadn't seen, it still doesn't look legal. But with his input, you know, maybe it is. But I mean, just reading the statute, it didn't look legal.
And you know what? And I am fine with that. If you had called me up and said, BJ, this doesn't look legal. Well, I shouldn't have the agenda come out and see it and then have to call Steve and Steve say, oh, no, it's not legal.
Like I said,
It's not legal. We looked at it and it's not legal because it's not this and this and this. Well, what I kept telling you, Steve, I should have been called and at least
And I
brought in on it and said, hey, this don't look legal.
But
That's where the ball was dropped, really.
No, yeah, 100%. And I told Steve that the other night, like where my issue is that I was bypassed. It was changed without saying, hey, BJ,
Yep.
this doesn't look legal.
on that, it was,
And that's
Well,
it.
it wasn't intentionally.
Because I don't think it's
Someone else.
personal.
Just pulling different directions all at once and it just fell off the plate. You know, because I fully intended to, I should have wrote it down, just problems. It didn't end up on my note list of gotta do this. And some of those things.
at this point, we've pretty much covered it all without an executive.
No, we actually,
So-
we haven't. You don't, trust me, we haven't. There's more than, one of the things we don't need executive session on, one of the topics. And the one that we kind of brought up the person, there is multiple steps in there that I still feel we should have an executive session on next week or the next meeting.
So, but this doesn't involve a discipline or.
No,
It doesn't involve hiring or.
They did nothing
firing.
wrong. no,
Nope.
no.
Could you forward that opinion email just to, you know, just send it to us or whatever.
I'll just give it to you. It was.
If it's, that's you. Yeah, I mean,
That was from
That
Brian.
might be worth a phone call.
When Will was the chair.
No, I called him today.
Oh,
When I got a thing from Eric saying, here's the things, it doesn't call it there, and I thought Eric called him. I just thought if I was turned down, because I remember we've done it before, and I understand what you're saying, Eric, just because we've done it before, doesn't mean it was done lawfully. I get that, but that's why I called Eric, or I called him and I explained what we're gonna do. He's like, an executive session. And he said, it doesn't have to be disciplinary or whatever. You just use that to get into it because it is a private matter with an employee.
okay. I'll accept that too.
Speaking of, the rates went up to 25 an hour, so.
Excuse me?
It's rate right now at 25.
Oh,
But we can bring up the training thing. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
unless you
yeah,
guys want to
whatever.
bring up the Marla stuff without an executive session. Like I said, that was just my spiel, my opinion.
Okay, let's wait again. I'll,
Till the next one,
yeah,
okay? Do you want to do the?
Limericks.
So as you guys know, we did mention talk to Ann. One of the things we were gonna suggest is having Ann come out front, but Ann feels comfortable in the back and she likes it back here. We just didn't want to bring something to the board if the employee liked it, so.
you know what I
Yeah.
think? I mean, I think she's happy back there. I am happy for her, but I think we should make it look a little bit more inviting.
Okay,
Like,
plants or something.
well, no, I'm talking about, you know how you do cubicles and you have the screen? I mean, she has boxes, I think, as a wall, which is really, and then if she would like to hang stuff on that,
Right.
then it just would look much nicer. It feels like a hole back there. That's what it feels like.
No, okay.
We've got a storage issue we need to work on, and I told her that we brought her in, like the filing cabinets behind her. We're gonna find a place for them, they don't belong to her. And, yeah, It's,
Just,
yeah, we've got.
Okay.
We've got to move, we've got to change some stuff around upstairs so we can change some stuff around downstairs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, she's doing a good job and we just wanted
yeah,
to touch base with
Yeah.
her. The last thing that got brought up during the meeting, and you guys, if I'm wrong on any of this, please, you guys were the ones dealing with it. Training the girls, we want to really get to the fact of training Lydia and Sue on everything town clerk and treasurer and stuff like that. When they do get trained, we'd like to have them do an SOP, not necessarily Rosemary, standard
It's an
operating
SOP.
procedure, standard operating procedure. So Rosemary doesn't have to do that part because I'm sure while they're getting trained, they're writing down information, and all an SOP is something that they can look back in. So they'll create a binder, and as Sue learns something and Lydia learns something, they do their little notes, turn it into an SOP, put it in the binder that way.
Someone would come in from the outside.
No,
No, they take their own notes.
they take their own
just-
note. Like if you're teaching me something, I'll write down, okay, for this, Steve said to do this first, this second, I do this on a computer, third, this on a computer, fourth. Then I put it in our binder. That's a training, it's basically a training manual. So if anything ever happened and the girls had to do something, they go to a training manual and they'll look up the notes, which will be typed up as an SOP, and they'll know how to do it. That's it. And then
I think Marla, excuse me, I think Marla was saying she was doing that for a good part of her job, because she said, if something happens to me, so I think she is
Yeah.
doing it.
and well, most people do take the notes. I'm just saying with this SOP, Rosemary doesn't necessarily have to do it. The girls can do it as they're learning. And
So-
then go ahead.
Shouldn't Beth and then be working
Yeah,
on Lydia working on
that's-
that?
The select board needs.
Oh, yeah,
Select
because
board
it's on the
needs to
other
be part
side.
of it.
Yes.
Select board needs to be part of this
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah,
So this is
The
just,
other question is, are they the only employees interested in the clerk assistant clerk position?
you,
I mean, what if, was Marla interested in moving?
I don't think so.
Okay.
no, and like I said, I wasn't
Not
there
even
for
so sure.
any of this, so I'm just reading off this part. I wasn't there to get any information.
No, and we didn't specifically ask them
We
either.
didn't
We
ask
didn't go
that.
there.
Right,
We didn't say who,
right.
because that's kind of like,
Without seeing what the interest is, it would be kind of prejudicial to train some and not others, not knowing where
Right.
they stand.
Right.
when we were doing it, our feeling was that the more all of them know, the better.
Right,
Because it was talked about with the select board and our board that they need to get trained.
Mhm.
I think this is just a way to, this is a way to get them trained to where progress can be brought to the board by showing us SOPs. Oh, they've been trained in this, they've been trained in this and this. That way it kind of gives us a guidance of how training is.
It was like Rosemary said, 3 years is gonna come quick,
Mhm.
it's gonna come quick.
So like I says, this is just to bring it up. It's what people decide on and stuff. I mean, it's just findings of the conversation that we're having. And I think the SOPs was just for,
They're not gonna know what you're talking
Or
about. I think
the-
you just need to call it a learning,
manual.
manual, something like
So
that.
the manual is just to show us the progress, that progress is being made with training.
And they have something to refer back to.
Yeah.
It's more to refer back
refer
to.
back to is what makes it kind of.
Me too, me
Yes.
too. I think you need to be able to refer back to something.
Yeah.
Get a binder, they put whoever's doing the training, get their notes all put in it, and that way if anything ever happens, they have
Yeah,
notes.
I think it's a great idea.
Anything else that
Okay.
you guys are meeting that? Because I didn't get to talk to Diane, so I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think Linda and I said that we should discuss this stuff with the select board and that Beth should be contacted as far as the training goes. And because she knows so much about the computer stuff. there didn't seem to be any problem with anything. They talked over how they were gonna deal with the window and the phones, so that if somebody needs to do a project and can't be interrupted, they're gonna talk about it and set up how they want that day to
They can have an
go.
afternoon free if they need it
Yeah.
because they got an extra whatever happening.
I think they do above and beyond each of their jobs right now as it is. I mean, they kind of intermingle with kind of everything down
They
Yeah,
do.
there.
they
They-
seem to
Helping each
say
other.
they
They
work together.
They
well.
work really well.
That's what they were saying. And, yeah, there didn't seem to be any problems. They like coming to work. For me, it was really interesting to find out what they actually do. And Marla's job sounds really difficult, and she seems to really love it. And I think we need to make sure she stays in that job.
She's good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
knows her stuff. I'll tell you, when you talk to her, it's like, what the
Yeah.
hell, what are you talking about?
And
You
then,
lost me.
during our discussion with her, she did say that the solar was,
Time-consuming.
heavy. It was heavy on her
Which
time.
Eric took care of.
Yeah.
And so now that's been taken care of, and the training.
Yes, I think. we
And I
need to-
think that's pretty much it.
It's almost like we need to see how the adjustments at the window and the solar thing,
Help.
how they work,
Mhm,
Yeah.
you know?
Because
exactly.
really what our other conclusion was, is there's shouldn't be any need for overtime. There should not be any need for overtime. Susan did not have overtime.
And if you guys give me permission, because it had to be for the board, and this is why I told, which I told Steve, like, I can't just go to Eric and talk to Eric without the board permission. Wednesday on my day off, I can go down and talk to Eric about the findings for the Marla thing that we're discussing.
Mm.
That way to bring him up to speed. That way, when he goes into the meeting in Tuesday, our next meeting, even though it's executive session,
I mean, a back brief. You don't need a quorum for that. A back brief, I mean. I think really probably should have happened already by now. I mean,
but you were mentioning about
You don't
to
need
put stuff on the
permission.
agenda too.
You
So
don't need
it's
my-
like,
No,
You don't need my permission to go and talk to Eric about anything.
But you just told me I need my permission to talk to Ann and ask Ann how she was doing over in the corner. You just told me I needed permission to do
no,
that.
that email sounded more like, we're gonna move you, unless of course, you know.
Reread it again because it wasn't.
And surprised that,
I would say it bothered her. I was like,
yeah, that it didn't come from me or Eric, that it kind of came from you, and I guess she was just trying to figure out
she was,
who was her boss and who.
she was like most surprised that I didn't.
That's-
see it on the email.
That's the detail. So just getting back to all our controversy right now, I agree that I will contact Brian Moynihan and get him, and I'll read the thing that you just gave to Eric. And if
Yeah, he has an email.
and
He gave it
if
to you
he
today.
says he doesn't think it's a conflict of interest, then I will accept that, even though, and we'll just move forward, okay?
Yeah, and I would like you to trust me to pull myself out of stuff that will be a conflict. I've shown that without even you guys giving me permission, I pulled myself out of situations that I feel could have been a potential conflict of interest myself when I've had permission from you guys to do
But you
whatever.
don't always see it. That's the thing about conflict of interest. What
And if you-
Gordy and the other trustee who,
Scott,
no, but just before him, the older gentleman who's just lost his wife who lived.
they
Sweetser.
Sweetser, Bob Sweetser. So what they both
Oh.
told me was that they knew that there was a conflict. When
Meredith. and-
Meredith and Troy.
Which is 100% a conflict of interest. You should
And
never have
they
a spouse
said-
boss.
They said, but they were doing such a good job, both of them. So until
And I would just like,
the shit hit the fan, it was.
yeah, but you, that's apples and oranges. husband and wife boss compared to husband and wife on two different companies, really. It's two different, we're in the same building, they're in the same building, but it's two different companies. And if you could give me like one example of a situation where you felt it was a conflict of interest of something I did, besides understanding now that Lydia is not village, Lydia is town and has nothing to do with us.
Being in on the decision to vote on their salaries.
Okay, I voted on Marla's. I did not vote on Lydia's, just like Eben voted on his and didn't vote on.
He shouldn't have either.
But
So there was a conflict there,
no,
but I don't have any control over him.
I think we can go back and
Yeah.
forth. I think let's run it by Brian
Okay.
and then we'll
All right.
discuss it again because we're just gonna keep,
Yeah,
and you know, this is the first time that anything has happened. Let's deal with it and move forward.
Oh, I'm fine
and-
with that.
I'll just say this again,
I'm
BJ.
fine with that.
I feel like you have helped me out a lot and saved my butt, and I'm grateful for that and your leadership and your initiative. So, and I don't want to stab you in the back. It's a feeling I have, and maybe feelings don't work here. It doesn't feel right to me. And so maybe I'm full of shit.
No, and you know what? And we have a board of five with different opinions, different minds, different everything. But if you're willing to contact a lawyer and find out if it's and I will go by him, if he says that's a conflict of interest, I'm fine. If our lawyer considers it, I will drop my defense and be like, you know what? Okay, but vice versa.
Okay.
You know
Yeah.
what, Steve, just for giggles, ask him about what would happen, what if Lydia decided she wanted, or what if we hired her as town clerk?
Well, I've already
Interest.
asked
No.
BJ.
But anything to deal with her, I can't do nothing. That's a conflict of interest because she is in our
So
It's
you
like
would
a-
be able to be a trustee.
I could be a trustee. I just can't vote on nothing that deals impacts her.
I'm not,
Nothing.
so I don't even know if you could be a trustee. The reason I say that, when I was on the school board, they asked me to take a job at Lemoyle. I was on the elementary board. I could not be on the school board and work in the school.
Well, if our lawyer said that's a conflict of interest, that he even be a trustee, I would 100% step
Well,
down.
that's
And
what I'm asking.
I told Steve that I would step down. If he said, it's not a conflict of interest unless he votes for things that directly affect her,
Right.
then I'd be on the
Right, well,
board
that
and
makes
I wouldn't.
sense.
But yeah, I told Steve if it come between her job and me on a trustee, her job is more
It's
important.
worth investigating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Asking about. All right,
Are we all good?
Yeah.
we're good.
Okay. Do we
So
have?
I'll stop down and give Eric the rundown of this Wednesday, just to basically touch base with you after all this anyways.
Is there any other business?
I'm in meetings between 9, 11:30 and from 2 to 3:30.
Late in the day, then right before you're,
Yeah.
it's only 10-15 minutes.
Yeah,
Well, I think we just should touch base anyways after this.
absolutely.
There's no other business. Let's have a motion.
Yeah, maybe we do it at 5 at Moves.
Sounds like a deal.
It sounds like a lot more fun than.
Yeah, seriously.
Motion to,
Adjourn.
I would do
Second.
adjourn. I could already do it.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
You go
Meeting is
to-
adjourned.
thank you, everyone.
Have you been to Moose?